Welcome to the Reinvent Your Life podcast, the show that talks about why we do what we do and how we can do it better.
Welcome to the Reinvent Your Life podcast. My name is Chaz Molesky, and today we're going to talk about seeking to understand. This message is inspired actually by a story of something that happened to me over this past week. See, this past week I drove across the United States with my now fiance. We got engaged on the trip. We're both super excited about it. But we ended our trip in Phoenix, Arizona. And now what we were doing in Phoenix, we wanted to see the city a little bit. So we were just hanging out. We had a hotel there. Well, one night we stopped at the hotel bar and we're sitting there and there was a man drinking alone by himself. And after a while, he struck up a little bit of conversation with us and a little bit with the bartender. And we found out that he was a veteran. And he was also displaced from his condo. His upstairs neighbor had actually flooded his unit, and it started to seep through the ceiling of this man who was at the bar. It started to seep into his condo. It started ruining everything. So his insurance company is paying for his apartment, or not his apartment, his hotel room. They're paying for that, and he's in there, and he's been spending some time in there because he can't go home, obviously, while they're doing repairs. Well, he was completely disheveled, and he had that look of somebody you know is going through it, right? They're going through that rough time. He looked like he hadn't really, even though he had a shower and a bathroom in his room, he really didn't look like he was that clean. It felt like he was just down, and you could tell there was just that energy about him, right? That feel that he just was not enjoying himself at the moment, and that he was also drinking alone and drinking a lot. So as he got talking, we talked more, and we were engaging with him a little bit, and he calculated a lot of his answers. Every time we would ask him a question or something, he would get really frustrated. And, he would struggle in his head, and you could tell he was trying so hard to not say the wrong thing. And he kept apologizing to us, and he kept letting us know that this is why he had a service dog to calm him down in times like that. So he was definitely going through a lot. And a lot of people in a situation like this, a lot of people would not give this man the time of day. And they wouldn't spend the time to actually talk with him. They might label him weird or odd or strange or scary or however you want to describe it, because he's not like everyone else. He just puts off a different energy. But it doesn't mean he's not a human being. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't want what every other human being wants. And that's just a little bit of connection with some people. And luckily, me and my fiance and the bartender were there to give it to him. And we spent the night talking with him and engaging with him. And it was great and all. Well, at the end, as I was leaving, he looked at me and he said, "Do you hug?" And for a guy to ask another guy that, especially randomly in a hotel bar, that doesn't happen. All right. So he asked me if I hug. And for him, I told him yes, absolutely, of course. So gave him a hug and I just let him know. I reassured him. I said, no matter what goes on, no matter what you're going through, you're going to get through it and everything will turn out for the better. And he hugged me a little bit tighter and he just said, "Thank you so much for spending time with me." And now to me, that was such an amazing feeling of contribution and giving back to the world. And I didn't even do anything. All I had to do was sit with this man, listen to some stories of his, ask him a couple questions, get curious about his life, and just let him know that I was there. I was accepting him for what he was and who he was. And that's all he needed to be. And now I want to give you the message today of seeking to understand when you communicate with anybody. And the reason I want to do that is because it's going to help you see the world as it really is, not in the way that you're going to see on social media, on the news, on TV, anywhere else. All right. This is how the world works. And this is how you can experience more of it, because it's not fear induced. It's not confusion inducing. It's nothing along these lines that other people may have you believe. It's just how people can be and how they are if you choose to see them that way. So seeking to understand is really looking for, what is this person about? What do they mean? Why are they the way that they are? Why are they in the situation they are? How are they getting by these days? What is it that drives them? What motivates them? What passions do they have? See, looking for these, seeking out these answers will give you so many answers to this person and what they're about. And you'll start to understand them. You'll start to know them. You'll start to notice that their problems are the same problems as you're having. And if they're not the exact same, they're similar. Or you may have been through them at one point in your life, or you may be going through them at some point that you don't even know about. But if you don't have the interactions, you don't look to seek to understand, you'll never figure this out. You'll never learn that. So we often take a lot of things personally, especially if somebody says something to us, if we don't like what they said, or if they just make us feel a certain way. We take it very personally and we think about it as it pertains to us and as it relates to how we're feeling. We get very selfish about that. But when we take everything personally, we're not figuring out and we're not looking deeper into why did that person say that thing? Why did they act the way that they did? Why are they the way that they are? What is it that's motivating to do that? What did they get out of it? See, when you look and see what happened for them, when you make it about them, it's no longer personal to you. You can separate yourself from that and you can really get a clear answer on what's going on. Often we cast judgment. We cast tons of judgment on other people without even knowing. First impressions happen within the first 7 seconds of ever meeting somebody non-verbally. So even this person didn't say anything, even if they said not a single word, you would judge them on their appearance, what they wore, how they walked, how they breathed, what they smelled like. You'll cast a judgment subconsciously. And the more that you do this, the more it will become automatic that you start judging people for things that don't really matter or don't really define them for who they are. We also overthink all the time about what somebody's intentions are, why they want to talk to us, what they want from us. A lot of us put a guard up, or we don't really know how to communicate in social settings, so we'll distance ourselves from other people, or we'll act like we don't really want to talk to somebody, or we won't engage in conversation because we just don't know what to say. We don't know how to respond. We don't know what this person wants to talk about. We don't know if they're going to try to rob us or steal our money, or is somebody who wants to engage in a certain conversation that you don't want to have. We overthink. We put these labels on what's going to happen. We draw these outcomes that may or may not be true, and it takes away from getting to know another human being. And all it does is separate us even further. And then finally, we make assumptions. All right, and this kind of goes in with overthinking, but we make a ton of assumptions about what somebody's intentions are. We make assumptions about what they want, why they want to talk to us. We make assumptions about why they're there in the first place, and we put these labels on their life that may not even be true. And it's all coming from our own beliefs and our own perception. So the more that you can seek to understand another person, the more you can ask the questions about what drives you, what motivates you. What is it that you want? The more you can engage in conversation like that, the deeper your relationships are going to be, the better connection you're going to have to other people, the easier it's going to be to have a general conversation with somebody. And then finally, you're really going to get to know people for who they are. And you'll see the world and the real true reality with a fresh set of eyes and a new understanding for people as they exist, not as we're told through the news, social media, or any other source other than one person to another person. So the message here is work on seeking to understand another person, okay? Every interaction that you have, look for those answers. Try to see what makes this person tick, and you may find that you relate on many more levels than you initially thought. So take this information, as always, use it, apply it, and reinvent your life. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Reinvent Your Life podcast. Now go out and apply what you just heard to start your reinvention. Please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with those that need it most.